Hello everyone, it's me again. Anyway, there's a video I wanted to discuss. It's about the exploitation of the black community. Now, I've noticed that when it comes to voters who resonate with presidential candidates, it's always split down the middle in the African American community, or at least so it seems. There are always the ones who always stand out are liberals who are black and conservatives who are black. But you know what they have in common? The fact that they're both very much brainwashed and lost in terms of knowing the truth about reality. Reason being is that, even Malcolm X warned about this, that the liberal will always deceive and brainwash the black men into voting for him. So I find this a little bit weird how almost, 60 years later, we're still falling for the same ruse by the liberals. But that's not to say that conservatives are somehow innocent in all of this. Because as I do recall, liberals who are not only more deceitful and hypocritical compared to the conservative, but they actually have the same agenda. They both want to divide this country, and they both want to have power through divide and conquer. This is what conservatives and liberals do. They are one and the same thing, and they pose as enemies. I'm not talking about people who have their own personal belief, like the average person. But generally speaking, I'm talking about the actual politicians who are conservatives and liberals. They themselves are very conniving, very deceitful, very hypocritical, and they have always exploited the black community into gaining votes from them. I mean, every time that a politician who's running for president says that we must talking about helping the black community, it's safe to say that they fall for the same ruse, the same trick, over and over again. I don't know how long it's going to take for black people to wake up, because as far as I'm concerned, it's either they vote for Democrats or they vote for Republicans. It's either they're liberal or they're conservatives. And the funny thing is, no one ever talks about African Americans who happen to be members of the Independent Party or libertarian black people. Excuse me. That never happens. You never hear about that. I mean, how many members of the Green Party do you know who are African American? There's only one that I've heard of, and her name is Cynthia McKinney. Now, the reason why I mention her is because she's also the best example, not only of when it comes to just being an African American, but she herself was a threat to the establishment as well as the New World Order, as many alternative websites have described. A threat to the New World Order. That's exactly what she was, what she still is. So, what I do find a little strange is that the only few examples I can think of when it comes to black people who are independent and or don't associate with themselves with any political party were men like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Huey Newton. They were not conservatives. They were not liberals. They were actually against Democrats and Republicans. They were, Malcolm X, of course, he was more vocal to the bitter end. But Martin Luther King, he started to adopt Malcolm X's principles after Malcolm X was assassinated in 1965. So, strangely enough, those are the examples of what I refer to as independent black people. They don't side with Democrats, they don't side with Republicans at all whatsoever. And those are the people who actually called out the mainstream media and exposed their lies. Once Martin Luther King started adopting Malcolm X principles, that's the reason, one of the reasons why he actually died, because he was starting to become a huge threat. At one point, if he was alive, he could have been president of the United States. That's how powerful Martin Luther King was. I mean, he was in the office. He was in the Oval Office with Lyndon Johnson. That's something they never mentioned to you. That's something most people probably forgot about or haven't even heard of. So my point is this. Black people, if they want to wake up and regain their strength, they need to stop voting Democrat and they need to stop voting Republican. Because let's face it, liberals and conservatives, in the game of politics, their game is to draw pawns in order to have more power added to their base. But the number one target when it comes to being brainwashed and fooled has always been black people. They have always been their victimhood has been exploited, and this is why they end up wasting their vote to someone who they thought was going to be there for them, but he wasn't. This happened with Bill Clinton. This happened with George Bush. This happened with Obama, and this is happening right now with Donald Trump. And paying tribute to Donald Trump during Black History Month, saying, "Man, you're the first black president we've ever had," and kind of sucking up to him as if they're saying, "Oh yes, Master, we love you, Master." Now, here's the thing: if you are an African American or a black man in particular, if you vote for anybody who is bought out by corporate interest or corporate conglomerates, and even funded by Wall Street and any of the bankers, then you are not part of the independent movement. You are supporting the evils of the two-party dictatorship known as the Democrats and the Republicans. And any black person who still thinks that they're making the right choice by voting, siding with the liberals or the conservatives, they themselves are a traitor to their own race, because liberals and conservatives have done nothing but damage the African American community, and it is still happening now. And of course, other conservative news sources are making up these lies that Donald Trump has a program for black people and helping them out. But black people are still killing each other even more, especially in places like New York, particularly Harlem and Brooklyn, and of course the Bronx has never changed, and Chicago's black on black crime rate is still continuing to climb at an alarming rate. So with that being said, as long as black people continue to ignore the warnings of Malcolm X, of the dangers of believing the lies of the mainstream media and the lies of liberals, as well as conservatives, then black people will forever remain weak, and they will forever remain brainwashed. So really, with that being said, these are the people you should not be supporting. You either vote, like I said in one of my previous videos, either you vote third party or you don't vote at all. Because by voting for Democrats and Republicans, you are contributing to the destruction of this country as well as this planet, because Democrats and Republicans are the enemy of humanity. That's who they were, that's who they are, and that's who they will always be. And anybody that supports them, still to this day, is either evil or completely delusional to the point where you can't even tell the difference between right and left. So with that being said, that's just how it is. And I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat this any further, or apologize for that matter. Because all I am doing is speaking the truth. Now, there's something you guys don't know or probably were aware of. I started my research with Black Lives Matter, and my concern was, if they continue to just support liberals, then I will not be on board with people like Black Lives Matter. Because as far as I'm concerned, uh, supporting an organization like that will be the demise of, if they only support liberals and they keep endorsing people who are uh, running for president in the Democratic Party every 4 years, then this will only be the cause of the black community's destruction. And with that being said, if this is who Black Lives Matter really is, and once again, I have to learn more about them and do more research. I'm not making an assumption about them. I'm saying, but if they only support liberals and they're not as independent as I hope that they would be, then they will continue to destroy the black community by supporting the enemy of black people, who are known as the two-party dictatorships that consist of liberals and conservatives. Like I said, you have to look out for the liberal more, because when it comes to the politicians, the liberals, they show that they are more deceitful and more hypocritical. They have shown it through their actions and through their words, from Bill Clinton to Obama. George Bush was at least more honest. He may have been George Bush Jr., he may have been an idiot, but at least he was more honest in his views of how he felt about Arabs and Muslims, and calling them names such as Islamic fascists. So, with that being said, I, for one, don't support war. I'm more in favor of peace. However, when it comes to self-defense, you better not be afraid to put up your dukes. That's all I have to say about that. So if you are black and listening to this, do not vote for a Democrat or Republican. And in this case, do not vote for Joe Biden and do not vote for Donald Trump, because they are also the enemies of black people by exploiting their victimhood. That's exactly what Donald Trump did in the 2016 election by saying, I will do everything in my power to help and support the African Americans. And nothing has been done, because more and more black people are continuing to kill each other over and over again. That's it. So for anyone who's black watching this, I'm telling you as a black man, trying to look out for your best interest at heart. If you know what's good for you, don't vote for anyone in the two-party dictatorship between Democrats and Republicans, who are nothing more than the gangbangers of government. So really, with that being said, two choices. Vote third party, or fourth party, or fifth party, or better yet, do not vote at all if you find that any of them are corrupt. That's all I have to say about that.